Welcome back to the deep dive. We are shifting gears today. Usually we take a broad concept, cloud computing, AI, whatever, and we kind of explore the edges of it.
Right.
But today,
Mm-hmm.
today we are getting tactical. We are getting really into the weeds of a specific challenge that I know a lot of you listening are staring down the barrel of right now.
We are talking about the HPE0-G04.
The HPE Hybrid Cloud Solutions exam.
Exactly.
But specifically, we are cracking the code on the Morpheus interaction questions. Because, well, let's be honest, you can know general cloud theory all day long, but if you don't know which button to click in the interface, you are going to fail this test.
That is the reality of these vendor-specific exams. I mean, they aren't just testing concepts, they're testing familiarity.
Yeah.
They want to know if you can actually drive the car, not just explain how an internal combustion engine works.
Exactly. So here is our mission for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We have a stack of source material that is just pure gold. Actual practice exam, questions, the answer keys, and the official explanations. We're going to walk through 10 of them, but we aren't just going to read them out because that would be a total snooze fest.
Right. We are going to reverse engineer them. We need to look at the question, look at the answer, and then figure out the architectural logic that connects them. Because if you understand the logic, you can answer 50 variations of that question. If you just memorize that the answer is B, you're in trouble.
Before we jump into the first scenario, though, give us the lay of the land. What are the specs for this exam? If I walk into the testing center tomorrow, what am I facing?
Okay, looking at the exam profile here is the battlefield. It is a proctored exam. You are on the clock for 1 hour and 30 minutes.
90 minutes. And the volume?
50 questions.
Okay, let's do the math there.
Yeah.
That is less than 2 minutes per question.
Yeah.
You really don't have time to second guess yourself.
You don't. You need to read the scenario, identify the key constraints, and pick the path. And the passing score is 65%.
Which sounds low to the uninitiated, but...
Well, but in the world of technical certs where the questions are actively designed to trick you, that is a serious bar to clear.
It is. And the delivery language is English, obviously.
Yeah.
So you need to be sharp on the specific terminology.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into the content. We have organized these 10 questions into a flow that mirrors how you would actually set up a Morpheus environment in the real world. We are starting with setting the stage. So integration and identity.
This is logically step one. I mean, you have installed the platform. Now what? You have to connect it to the outside world.
Right. So let's look at question 9 in our stack.
Okay.
This deals with cloud integration. The scenario is you are an administrator. You are adding a new cloud integration. Maybe it's AWS, maybe it's vSphere.
Mm-hmm.
The question asks, what are the 2 absolute non-negotiable requirements to make that handshake work?
This is a great question because it filters out people who have only read the marketing brochure versus people who have actually configured the tool.
The options included some tempting distractors, too. One was root password for the local appliance. Another was a list of end-user email addresses.
Which sounds plausible, right? You need users. But, strictly speaking, to make the cloud connect, you don't need users yet.
So what are the correct answers according to the source?
The answer key points to A and B. First, you need valid credentials or API keys. And second, and this is the really critical Morpheus-specific part, you need an assigned infrastructure group.
Let's unpack that. The credentials part is obvious. You can't knock on Amazon's door without a key.
Exactly. That is the authentication layer. Whether it is an access key ID for AWS or a username and password for vCenter, Morpheus needs permission to talk to the API.
But the infrastructure group, that feels like bureaucracy to me. Why does the system care about a group before I even connect the cloud? Why can't I just connect it and organize it later?
Because Morpheus is, at its core, a governance engine. It completely refuses to have orphaned resources just floating in the void. An infrastructure group is a logical container. Think of it like a folder or a region definition. It tells the system, this cloud belongs to the North America region, or this belongs to the prod environment.
So if you don't have a bucket to put the cloud in, the system won't let you pick up the water.
That is a perfect analogy. The system needs to know where to file the data it is about to discover. So for the exam, it is credentials plus infrastructure group.
Got it. Okay, moving to question 2. We have connected the cloud. Now we want it to look like our cloud. The scenario is an admin wants the interface to look like their company, not generic software. They want their logo, their colors. What feature is this?
The answer is white labeling.
Now I have to ask, is this just a vanity metric? Why is making it look pretty a testable concept on a hardcore technical exam?
It feels trivial, I know, but you have to view this through the lens of a service provider. Imagine you are an MSP, a managed service provider. You are hosting environments for 10 different clients on one single Morpheus appliance.
Oh, right. You don't want the Coca-Cola admins logging in and seeing the Pepsi logo.
Exactly, or even seeing the generic Morpheus logo. White labeling allows you to enforce corporate identity per tenant. It builds trust. When a user logs in, it feels like an internal tool, which actually lowers the barrier to adoption. If it looks like some alien piece of third-party software users, gets kiddish.
So it's fundamentally about multi-tenancy and user experience.
Precisely. It is a core platform feature, not just window dressing.
Okay, let's get into the plumbing. Question 3. This is about IPM.
IP address management, the bane of every network admin's existence.
The question explicitly mentions integrating with an external provider like Infoblox. It asks which two features unlock when you make this integration.
The source identifies options A and D. A is automatic IP address allocation during provisioning, and D is host record management and synchronization.
Let's talk about why this matters, because one of the distractors on the exam was physical cable identification.
Yeah, Morpheus is good, but it can't see into your wiring closet. That is strictly a hardware problem.
So why are A and D the right answers? What is the alternative if you don't have IPAM integration?
The alternative is the spreadsheet of doom. Without this integration, when you want to build a server, you have to open an Excel sheet, find a row that says 5 free E-type in the server name, hope you didn't typo the IP address, and then go over to your DNS server and manually create the A record.
And if you mess that up,
If you duplicate an IP, you take down another server. If you mess up the DNS, nobody can find your new server. It's a total mess.
so the insight here is that Morpheus acts as the broker.
Right. The exam wants you to know that by integrating Infoblox, Morpheus automates that handshake. It asks for an IP, gets it, assigns it, and writes the DNS record all in milliseconds.
It essentially takes the human error out of the network layer.
Exactly.
All right, we have our cloud-connected, branded, and networked. Now we are moving to section 2 of our outline, the engine room, automation and library management.
This is where the magic happens. This is actually why you bought the tool in the first place.
Question 1 focuses on the library. The question is straightforward but nuanced. It asks what two types of automation tasks can be created and stored in the Morpheus library to use in workflows.
The source gives us option A, which is script-based tasks, and option C, which is HTTP-based tasks.
Okay, I need you to draw a line between these two for us. Why do we need both? Why isn't a script enough?
Think of it as internal versus external. A script-based task like Python Bash PowerShell is usually executing code on the guest operating system. You are provisioning a Linux box, and you run a script to install Apache or change a config file. You are operating directly on the box.
Okay, that makes sense.
An HTTP-based task is for talking to other systems. Let's say when the provision is done, you want to send a Slack notification to your team, or open a ticket in ServiceNow, or trigger a backup in Veeam. You aren't running code on the server, you're sending an API call out to the world.
So the library isn't just a bucket of scripts. It's a toolbox with wrenches for the engine, which are the scripts, and a phone to call the neighbors, which is the HTTP task.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. And the exam expects you to know that the term task covers both of those very different activities.
Moving on to question 4, this one honestly tripped me up when I first looked at the outline. It asks about the image inventory. What is its primary function?
The answer is D, a central repository for managing virtual machine templates.
The confusing part for me was the word inventory. In IT, when I hear inventory, I immediately think of asset tags. I think of physical laptops and serial numbers.
And that was exactly the trap in the distractors. One of the wrong answers was literally managing physical hardware serial numbers.
Very sneaky.
Extremely sneaky. But in the context of Morpheus and the hybrid cloud image inventory refers to your golden images. Your OVAs, your AMIs in Amazon, your VHDs in Azure.
Why do we need a specific inventory for that, though?
Standardization. If you are a hybrid shop, you don't want the AWS team using Ubuntu 20.04.1 and the Azure team using Ubuntu 20.04.3. The image inventory lets you organize these templates so that no matter where you deploy, you are always using the exact same base clay.
So it prevents the snowflake server problem where every machine is slightly different?
Correct. It turns your servers from unique pets into standardized cattle.
All right, we have the tools. But as you always remind me, giving someone powerful automation tools without rules is a recipe for disaster.
Or a recipe for a very, very large cloud bill at the end of the month.
Which brings us to section 3, the guardrails, governance roles and policies. Let's look at question 5. This is about RBAC, role-based access control.
The absolute backbone of security.
The question asks, When configuring security, what two entities can a custom role be directly assigned to?
According to the source, the answers are B and C. You can assign a role to an individual user account or to a user group within a tenant.
Why is this distinction important for the exam? Why can't I assign a role to, I don't know, a specific virtual machine?
Because a role is about permission, not configuration. A role defines what a human can do. A VM doesn't need permissions, it needs instructions.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the user versus user group distinction is really about scalability. The exam wants you to know you can assign a role specifically to Bob, but in the real world, if you have 500 Bobs, you really don't want to do that.
You want to put all the Bobs in a bucket.
Exactly. You create a developer's user group, assign the role to the group, and then just drop users in. It's efficient, but mechanically, the platform supports both.
Okay, let's talk about money. Question 7 covers service plans. The question asks, what are two common components defined within a service plan to control resource usage?
This is the resource governance question. The correct answers are C and D. Option C is memory and CPU allocation. Option D is pricing or cost models.
I think the term service plan can be a bit vague. It sounds almost like a cell phone contract.
It's actually a very strict technical definition in this context. Think of a service plan as a container size. When you define a gold tier plan, you are explicitly saying this equals 4 CPUs and 16 gigabytes of RAM.
It's a set menu, no substitutions.
Exactly. It completely prevents a user from saying, I want 4 CPUs and let's say 100 gigabytes of RAM. It enforces the t-shirt sizing, small, medium, large.
And the pricing model aspect.
That ties the physical cost to the size. It tells the system this gold tier costs 50 cents per hour. This allows the system to calculate and show the user the estimated cost before they even click provision.
That is huge. It stops the bill shock at the end of the month.
It fundamentally shifts the mindset from reactive accounting to proactive management.
Now, sometimes even if the price is right and the specs are right, you still want a human to sign off on it. Question 8 deals with this exact scenario. The question asks which policy is used to ensure a manager reviews and grants permission before a VM is provisioned.
This is option C, the approval policy.
How does this mechanically work in an automated system? It feels almost like throwing a wrench in the gears of the automation.
Ideally, it's a pause button, not a wrench. When the approval policy is triggered, the automation halts. The request goes into a pending state. The manager then gets an email or notification in the UI.
It's the mother may I workflow.
It is. And while it does slow things down, it is the ultimate backstop. You absolutely do not want a junior dev spinning up a massive, expensive database in production without a lead architect saying, yes, this is valid.
So it essentially trades speed for safety.
Exactly.
Okay, we are in the home stretch here. We have built the back end, we set the rules, and we locked down the budget. Now, section 4, the front end. What does the actual user see when they log in?
The user experience. This is where the rubber meets the road for most people in the organization.
Question 6 asks about personas. The question is, which persona is designed for end users to request services through a simplified card-based interface?
The answer is B, the service catalog persona.
Card-based interface. That sounds very consumer-friendly, like shopping on Amazon or browsing Netflix.
That is the entire design philosophy. Think about your audience here. If you are a developer or a data scientist, you don't care about infrastructure groups or storage LUNs or vCenter clusters.
You just want a database so you can do your job.
Right. You want an app store experience. The service catalog persona strips away all the administrative noise. It just shows clean tiles. Click here for Postgres. Click here for Windows 2019.
So the key insight for this exam question is abstraction. We are hiding the complexity so the user doesn't get overwhelmed, and crucially, so they don't break anything.
It also stops them from going around you to shadow IT. If your internal private cloud tool is too hard to use, they will just swipe a corporate credit card and go to AWS directly. The service catalog makes the internal approved route the easy route.
That is a really critical point. Usability actually functions as a security feature.
Absolutely it does.
Finally, let's look at question 10. This ties the user experience back to the engine we talked about earlier. The user is in that service catalog. They click the card. The question asks what is actually being executed to provision that resource.
The answer is A, a catalog item linked to a blueprint or layout.
There are two terms there, catalog item and blueprint. Help us distinguish them for the test.
Think of a catalog item as the menu item in a restaurant. It's the picture of the burger, the description, and the price. That is what the user interacts with on the screen.
Okay.
But the blueprint, that is the recipe back in the kitchen.
I see.
The blueprint is the actual technical instruction set. It says, take this image from the inventory, apply this service plan, run these scripts from the library, and register with this IPAM.
So the user clicks the item, the button basically, but the blueprint does all the heavy lifting in the background.
Correct. The exam wants you to deeply understand that relationship. The item wraps the blueprint in a user-friendly package. You can't have one without the other if you want that one-click experience.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into the HPE0-G04 exam questions. We hope this dissection of the practice questions gives you the edge you need to pass.
Good luck to everyone taking it. Remember, 65% is the target, 90 minutes is the limit, and workflow logic is your best friend.
Thanks for listening. We will see you on the next deep dive.